Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where we are looking at 10 of the most controversial seasons in footballing history. From bribery and corruption to dodgy transfers and the birth of VAR, we have plenty of great stories, so let's get it going. 10. The K-League scandal. South Korea was rocked in 2011 after a wide-scale match-fixing scandal was unearthed in their professional football leagues. The K-League was one of Asia's most prominent domestic divisions, yet it transpired that coaches and players alike had been manipulating the results of games to the benefit of illegal betting sites in China and Korea. Over 50 players would eventually be linked to the scandal, with 21 matches in both the K-League and the League Cup afflicted. The discovery had been kick-started following the arrests of Park Sang-wook from Daejeon Citizens and Sung Kyung-mo of Gwangju FC, and accelerated after the high-profile suicide of former Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors star Jung Jong-kwan, who left a note apologising for his role in the scandal. Though a number of clubs were involved, Daejeon Citizens proved to be the biggest offenders. The club had 30% of their profits deducted, while 8 of their players were expelled permanently from playing in South Korea again. 20 players and coaches even received prison sentences for their crimes, with a further 8 individuals fined. It is without doubt the biggest scandal in the league's 37-year history, and one of the biggest ever to hit football. Before we move on to our next scandalous season, just a quick reminder to, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss another great Football Daily video like this one. Trust me, you will not regret it. Anyway, let's move on. 9. Middlesbrough's point deduction. One of the most infamous Premier League relegations in the competition's history, Middlesbrough's demotion to the second tier at the conclusion of the 1996-97 season left a bitter taste in the mouths of everyone on Teesside. Despite serious financial investment that had seen the unlikely arrival of Champions League winner Fabrizio Ravanelli, by December 96, Borough were fighting the drop. They had a crunch game away to fellow strugglers Blackburn Rovers to contend, but were unable to field a team after claiming their entire 23-man squad had come down with illness. The problem was they failed to inform the relevant authorities until 24 hours before the game. As a result, they were docked 3 points. The decision would prove to be critical for Middlesbrough, who had technically beaten Coventry by 1 point to survive relegation. An appeal at the end of the season fell on deaf ears, meaning they fell 2 points behind the Sky Blues and were consigned to what was then known as Division 1. They may have reached both the League Cup and FA Cup finals that season, but the memory that will stick long in the minds of Borough fans will be the decision to send them down. 8. Bundesliga scandal 2005. What is unique about the Bundesliga scandal of 2005 is that referees were the main instigators at the heart of the drama. Towards the end of the German footballing calendar, a number of referees approached the country's football association with a tip-off concerning one of their colleagues, Robert Heuser. Mainly a Bundesliga 2 official, Heuser was accused of orchestrating match-fixing through his connections with a Croatian gambling syndicate based in Berlin. Though the DFB would be slow to react to the news, under the pressure of guilt, Heuser would confess to the crime, unravelling one of the biggest scandals in German footballing history. It transpired that through his links to organised crime, he managed to influence the action in a number of second-tier games, with the whole scam being valued at around €2 million. Most famously, he awarded second division side Paderborn 2 penalties as they upset Bundesliga giants Hamburg 4-2 in the German Cup. After confessing to the crime, Heuser would end up with a 2-year and 5-month prison sentence, while the trio of Croatian brothers behind the plot all received hefty jail terms. And it turned out Heuser wasn't the only ref in on the act, with Dominic Marks also sentenced to time behind bars. Though some argued the punishments were too harsh on the refs, with the World Cup set to kick off in Germany just a year later, it was a scandal the footballing authorities simply couldn't afford. 7. Barcelona and Braithwaite. Barcelona managed to infuriate La Liga rivals Leganes after signing their Danish forward Martin Braithwaite this season. What was bizarre about the transfer is that they completed the deal on February the 20th, almost 3 weeks after the closure of the normal winter transfer window. With long-term injuries to the likes of Luis Suarez and Ousmane Dembele ravaging their forward line, the Blaugrana successfully gained permission from the Spanish FA to sign an attacker outside of the window. After a well-publicised hunt for a forward dragged on, they eventually discovered Braithwaite had an €18 million release clause in his contract. Leganés were left helpless as Barcelona deposited the money, bringing him to the Camp Nou. The Cucumber Growers were already in difficulty, firmly in the relegation zone and only just recovering from Sevilla pinching their other forward, Youssef En-Nesyri, a month before. To make matters worse, the SFA refused their request to make an emergency signing of their own, leading to further bitterness. While the authorities have said they will review the rule that allowed the Catalans to complete the transfer, should Braithwaite be influential in sealing a title for Barcelona and Leganés ultimately go down, this won't be the last we hear about this deal. 6. Tevez and Mascherano. As far as I'm concerned, I should still be a Premier League manager, and I think the players have a case too. That was the opinion of former Sheffield United boss Neil Warnock, 2 years after seeing his side relegated from England's top division after one of the most bizarre transfer sagas in its history. West Ham United stunned everyone in the summer of 2006 when they announced the signing of Argentinian duo Carlos Tevez and Javier Mascherano from Brazilian side Corinthians, in a deal engineered by sports investment businessman Kia Joorabchian. Though Mascherano struggled to break into the team, Tevez would play a vital role in ensuring a flagging Hammers side survived the drop. He scored 7 times, with his most famous strike being his final day winner over Manchester United, which confirmed their safety and relegated the Blades. By that point, however, it had become clear that the transfer of the two South Americans had violated the Premier League third-party ownership rules, as the true nature of the extraordinary deal came to light. Sheffield United appealed, but their relegation was upheld. Instead, West Ham were fined £5.5 million and forced to pay the Yorkshire club £20 million in compensation. While Tevez and Mascherano would go on to have legendary careers, Sheffield United have only just re-established themselves back in the Premier League. And who knows, they could yet have the last laugh over the Hammers. 5. The Marseille scandal. In 1993, Olympique Marseille became France's first and only European champions, but did so under a cloud of controversy. That was thanks to their enigmatic owner Bernard Tapie, a self-made millionaire who was determined to achieve European glory by any means necessary. His dodgy dealings weren't exposed until a league game against lowly Valenciennes in Ligue 1 in the run-up to the 1993 Champions League final. 2 weeks after the 2-0 victory for OM, Valenciennes star Christophe Robert admitted to taking bribes from the opposition. It transpired Tapie didn't want his side overexerting themselves before their big final, and had recruited Robert to ensure his side deliberately attempted to lose the match. Marseille were stripped of their Ligue 1 title, though interestingly UEFA let them hold on to the Champions League crown after they beat AC Milan in the final. That was despite a number of matches in their run to victory coming under scrutiny, including an easy 6-0 victory over CSKA Moscow and a convenient red card received by Rangers star striker Mark Hatley prior to their crunch tie. It would even transpire that Tapie encouraged doping in his side too. Monaco manager Arsene Wenger was so disgusted he quit France and headed to Japan, while the financial repercussions of the scandal saw Marseille relegated to Ligue 2, where they would eventually file for bankruptcy. The true extent of Tapie's deception may never be known, and he remains a controversial figure in French society to this day. 4. The Calciopoli scandal. We have covered the Calciopoli scandal numerous times here at FD, but it is simply unavoidable for this list. In 2006, Italian police uncovered an illegal network of relations between referee organisations and team managers, with the latter being accused of selecting favourable referees for their matches. The scandal spread between Serie A and Serie B, implicated some of Italy's top teams including Juventus, AC Milan, Fiorentina, Lazio and Regina. Though a number of punishments were handed out, it resulted in one of the most high-profile relegations in footballing history, as giants Juventus were forcibly demoted to the second tier. In addition, they also lost their 2005 Scudetto, while their 2006 Serie A title was eventually assigned to Inter Milan, a fact the old lady still refutes to this day. AC Milan were also deducted 30 points from their total for the league that season, while Lazio were banned from the 2006-07 UEFA Cup. Juventus may have bounced back to become the undisputed powerhouse in Italian football, but the 2006 Calciopoli scandal remains a blight on their dominant record. 3. Götze's Bayern transfer. Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund have consistently been the two main players in the Bundesliga for the last decade. However, Bayern took that rivalry too far over the signing of Mario Götze back in May 2013. Götze had been a sensation at the Westfalenstadion. Alongside Marco Reus, he formed a brilliant partnership that delivered 24 goals in the 2012-13 league season and had propelled Die Borussen to the Champions League final. 3 years younger than Reus, at just 20 years old, Götze had been singled out as the future of German football. That Champions League final happened to be against their old enemies Bayern, and in the run-up to the game there were a number of stories linking Götze with a move to Bavaria. Then, just 2 days before the big showdown at Wembley, Die Roten announced the signing for a German record £33.3 million, leaving Dortmund incensed at what they perceived to be unsporting tactics and mind games. Arjen Robben went on to break Die Borussen hearts with an 89th minute winner at Wembley, and Götze headed to the newly crowned European champions, who had a certain Pep Guardiola joining their ranks that summer too. Though not as controversial as some of the other stories on this list, the Götze transfer is an example of gamesmanship at its worst. 2. The Turkish match-fixing scandal. Sadly, corruption is a global issue football has struggled to shake off, and the next offenders on this list are Turkey, after a match-fixing scandal was exposed in its top 2 divisions back in the summer of 2011. Momentum behind the case started when Turkish police arrested 61 individuals, including club managers and national team players, with 19 matches under scrutiny. And things only escalated when Ibrahim Akin, a player for Istanbul BB, now known as Istanbul Başakşehir, admitted his part in the scandal. Specifically, he outlined his role in matches against Super League giants Fenerbahce and in the Turkish Cup final against Besiktas. The resulting investigation would drag down a number of clubs, with UEFA becoming heavily involved. Though various punishments were handed out, Fenerbahce suffered the worst, being banned from European competition for 2 years with another year deferred. What's more, their president Aziz Yildirim was even sentenced to over 6 years in jail. Meanwhile, Besiktas were among a group of clubs who were also banned from Europe. What makes this all the more controversial is that in 2014, a change in the criminal system in Turkey gave Fenerbahce and those convicted a chance to appeal, and a new court threw out all of the charges. Yildirim returned as president of the Yellow Canaries after a year behind bars and immediately started to sue UEFA and the Turkish Football Federation for €135 million. 1. VAR in the Premier League. The 2019-20 Premier League season will go down in history for a number of reasons, but for this list we are focusing on the talking point that dominated the campaign: VAR. The video assistant referee had its first main run out at the 2017 Confederations Cup, but it wasn't until the 1920 season that the Premier League adopted the system, and it has caused quite the drama. From controversial offsides to referees refusing to use their on-screen monitors to debatable handballs in the run-up to goals, hardly a week has gone by without fans and pundits looking aghast at some of the baffling decisions VAR has awarded. The most famous examples would include the failure to award Watford's Gerard Deulofeu a penalty away at Tottenham despite overwhelming evidence, or the cancellation of Socrates' last-minute winner for Arsenal at home to Crystal Palace. The Premier League has been left in the awkward situation of constantly having to defend VAR, while the referees search for the perfect method by which to use it. Though it has its positives, a number of fans are running out of patience with a system that has left an irrevocable mark on this season. So those were our 10 most controversial seasons in football history, but what did you make of it? Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, why not click on screen right now for another top Football Daily vid? And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.